All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to today's explainer. We're going to be mastering an absolutely foundational concept in behavioral science, and that's baseline logic. We're exploring escalating single-case architecture and really looking at the ultimate continuum of experimental control. So, if you're prepping for your BCBA exams right now, you are exactly in the right place to decode the beautiful logic behind AB, ABA, and ABAB designs.
So, think about this for a second. How do you actually prove a treatment works without a shadow of a doubt? It's a heavy question, right? On the exam, you're going to face scenarios testing exactly this. You have to know where baseline logic succeeds brilliantly, and honestly, just as importantly, where it completely falls flat on its face. Because you can't just say, well, I introduced a treatment and things got better. That's not proof. You need a systematic, visually undeniable way to demonstrate that your specific intervention, and literally nothing else, caused that behavior change.
Which brings us to baseline logic itself. It's the process of establishing prediction, verification, and replication to definitively prove a treatment is responsible for a behavior change. I want you to think of these three concepts like the unbreakable pillars of experimental control. If you're missing even one of these pillars, your entire claim of success is structurally unsound. It's going to collapse. So keep these three words firmly anchored in your mind as we move through the continuum of A and B phases today. They're basically the absolute key to the whole shebang we're about to discuss.
All right, moving to Section 1, ABA, the missing link.
Okay, so in a classic ABA design, we start right at the beginning with Phase A, which is building a stable baseline. Basically, we're predicting that if we just do nothing, the behavior stays exactly where it is. Simple enough. Next up, in Phase B, we introduce our intervention and we watch for a change. Then finally, we withdraw the treatment, returning back to Phase A. And here's the cool part. If the behavior reverts to its original level, we've successfully verified our initial prediction. We basically proved that the baseline really was what we thought it was all along.
But wait, here is the massive catch with this. There's absolutely zero replication happening here. Sure, we proved our prediction, we verified the baseline, but we only turned the treatment on and off one single time. We never turned it back on to prove it actually works a second time. And look, without replicating the effect of that intervention, you simply do not have full experimental control. You're just leaving the door wide open for skeptics to come in and say, hey, maybe it was just a coincidence.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, ABAB, the gold standard.
When you really contrast these two approaches side by side, the difference is literally night and day. Like we saw, ABA gives you prediction and verification, but totally lacks that crucial replication. But by expanding out to 4 phases and reintroducing Phase B again, the ABAB design achieves true replication. It's a real game changer. This single addition takes that missing link we just talked about and completely forges it into a solid, unbreakable chain. It successfully rules out all those pesky confounding variables like history or maturation, and it locks in a definitive, undeniable functional relation.
I absolutely love this quote from the source material. Turn the behavior change on and off at will. Wow, that is such a powerful statement. Think about it. When you use an ABAB reversal design, you aren't just crossing your fingers and hoping a treatment works. You are proving that you are the absolute master of the independent variable. You show that when you apply the treatment, the behavior changes. Remove it, the behavior reverts. Apply it again, boom, the behavior changes again. You're literally turning it on and off like a light switch. And honestly, that level of control is exactly why ABAB establishes true internal validity and is completely, rightfully considered the gold standard.
All right, now for a quick pivot into Section 3, ethical traps and limitations.
Because look, as beautiful and perfect as the ABAB design is in theory, the real world is, infinitely more complicated, right? Take irreversibility, for example. If you teach a kid to read, or maybe to tie their shoes, you can't just wave a magic wand and expect them to suddenly forget those skills just so you can return to baseline. The change is permanent. You can't unring that bell. And this brilliantly illustrates an even more critical point: ethical danger. If your intervention successfully stops a severe, dangerous behavior like self-injury, you absolutely cannot ethically withdraw that treatment just to make your data look pretty. No way. A human life and their safety will always, always outweigh experimental control.
So it really begs the question, how will you navigate these ethical and practical limitations on the exam and out in the real world? You know the gold standard now, but you also need to be able to spot exactly where it falls apart. To truly master all of this, make sure you log into your BxM portal and tackle those advanced quiz blocks. Because at the end of the day, knowing how to establish perfect experimental control, that makes you a good scientist. But knowing when not to use it, Well, that's what makes you a master clinician. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today, and we'll catch you next time.